You've probably done this before. You offer someone a free music lesson, hoping that they'll stick around and sign up for more. But after an hour of teaching for free, they disappear. I used to do that too until I figured out how to make those sessions turn into real paying students. I've done hundreds of these free sessions since, using the same approach that filled my online drum coaching program with over 100 students. Whether you're charging a couple of $1,000s for coaching like I was, or you're just selling basic lesson packages, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to run that kind of session so that students actually sign up. When someone messages you saying, hey, do you do lessons? Or how much do you charge for a lesson? It's not quite a student yet, right? It's just someone who's curious, right? In that moment, what you do right after they reach out often decides everything. Most of the time, they're not ready to commit just yet. They're just testing the waters. You know, maybe they're wondering if the lessons will help them, or if they can afford it, or if they'll even have the time to keep up with it. And that's where your job starts. It's not necessarily to convince them, but just to guide them a little bit. Because if you just reply with your price, or you say, sure, I do lessons, here's a link to a booking page, often the conversation will die right there. At this stage, what matters isn't necessarily more information, it's that momentum, right? You need a way to turn that small bit of interest into an actual conversation where they can get a feel for what working with you would be like. That's why offering something for free, when it's done properly, is one of the smartest things you can do. And it's not about giving away your time, it's about giving someone a reason to trust you. Now, here's where a lot of musicians get this wrong, okay? Once someone reaches out and you think, all right, cool, like I'll give them a free lesson just to show them a bit about what I can do. Then in the lesson, you dive in, right? You start teaching, you start fixing their technique, and you throw a bunch of exercises and ideas at them. And by the end, right, they're going to be nodding along, they're going to be saying thank you, and often you'll never hear from them again. And it's not necessarily because they didn't like it, but because they already got what they came for, right? A quick boost of motivation, little information injection. You gave them something to practice, but not necessarily a reason to keep learning with you. The better approach is to slow down a little bit. Treat it a bit more like a consultation. Forget teaching just for a moment and just talk, right? Ask them where they're at. Ask them what's been frustrating them and what they actually want to improve. When someone feels listened to, right, when you actually have that conversation and they feel like you understand what's been holding them back, it really builds trust with you. And you're not just showing off what you know and throwing a bunch of stuff at them. You're helping them see what's possible for you working together. Here's exactly how I run that kind of conversation, all right? So step one is when you start with one of these free sessions, okay, whether it's in person, whether it's online, just take a minute to just talk like two musicians, okay? Meeting for the first time, just be chill. Ask them where they're from, a little bit of small talk, you know, how long they've been playing, that kind of thing, right? Now, it sounds small, but it completely changes the kind of vibe or the energy of the session. You want to relax things, right? Once it does feel relaxed, you can set the tone for what's about to happen. Something like, so listen, the idea today is to kind of figure out, you know, where you're at, what's been holding you back, and what your next steps might look like. A line like this does a lot of heavy lifting, right? It makes things feel organized, but it's not overly stiff. They get a feeling that you've got a bit of a plan, right? But it's going to feel natural. Now, the goal here isn't to impress them, right? It's to just make them feel comfortable enough to be honest, because once they relax a little bit, they'll tell you what's actually been getting in their way and what's been frustrating them. And that's what you need for the next step. So once you've broken the ice, obviously it's time to actually learn a bit about them. This should take a little bit of time, okay? 10, 15 minutes. Ask open questions, the kind that get them talking, not just short one-word answers, right? Stuff like this, like, so what made you reach out now? You know, did something happen? Or what's been frustrating you about your playing lately? What goals would you love to achieve in the next 6 or so months? Then you just let them talk and you listen. Most people don't get asked questions like this about whatever their musical instrument is, especially in a lesson setting. So when someone finally listens, trust me, they open up so quickly. And the key is to just stay quiet. Don't rush into fixing everything. Just listen to them, right? Then you feed back what you've heard, right? Something like this. So it sounds like you want to get a bit more confident playing with other people, but your timing's a bit off and you're not quite sure how to fix it. Is that right? A sentence like this shows that you've actually heard them and you understand them. And that's the moment they begin to trust you, because now it's not just another kind of teacher-student interaction, right? It's a real conversation, really getting at the root cause of what's been frustrating them. You're not diagnosing, you're getting to understand them, right? And when someone feels understood, they're already halfway to saying yes and signing up for your lessons. Once you've got that clarity as well, once you really understand what they want, then you're going to have an idea of where you can take things, right? And that's when you can start showing them what progress would actually look like working with you, okay? So here, once you really understand what they want, now it's your turn to guide them a little bit. Now, you're not teaching yet. You're sort of more showing them what their path forward could look like, right? Something really simple, right? Something that they can picture, step 1, step 2, step 3 type thing. You might say something like, all right, well, listen, based on what you've told me, here's kind of how I would help you with that. First, we'd strip your practice down to just a few focused areas instead of juggling 10 different things, so it's a bit less overwhelming. Then we'd track, a couple of specific wins each week so that you can, see yourself progress, this sort of thing. We want to keep it light. You don't want to do too much heavy teaching here. You don't want to give them a bunch of PDFs and resources and exercises, right? You just need to show that you've got a plan for them. What you're really doing here is giving them relief. You're taking the burden of wondering what they should do, right? Because people come into a call like this for that direction. And when you show them a simple, structured path, it's going to feel like a weight has been lifted from them, right? You're helping them go from, I don't know where to start, to, I can actually see myself doing this, right? And that shift, that kind of moment of clarity is what we want. And it's usually what makes them decide whether or not they want to keep working with you, right? If you've done this right, if you've kind of outlined this right, okay, then you can sort of talk to them about what it would look like for you to work together and just make an offer, right? And just tell them about what you have to offer at this point. So by this point, they'll usually be nodding along and, they can see the path. They can feel themselves kind of doing it. The natural next step is to just invite them to keep working with you, right? It doesn't need to be this big moment, but you can just ask them, like, do you want to get started on this? Or if you like, I can show you what it would be like for us to work together on this. This question is enough, right? That's all you're doing. You're just offering to take the next step. It doesn't have to feel like some crazy sales pitch or anything. It feels like the natural evolution of what's been happening in the call. So you would then explain how it works. All right, we'd meet once a week. I'll guide you what to focus on. I'll be around in between to kind of answer any questions you have and provide you with support. This is how much I charge. That's it, right? Now, if they hesitate, you can have a bit of back and forth. Okay, no problem. Is there anything else? Any other concerns that you might have? You can answer a question, because at this point, someone's either going to say yes, or they're going to be like, sounds interesting. You have a little bit of a back and forth, and it's just an honest, open communication. There's no pressure or anything. Asking them or making an offer is not being pushy, right? You've just spent half an hour kind of helping them make sense of their playing and their goals. Of course, you'd want to ask if they want to kind of keep that progress going with you. It's part of being a good teacher, right? And when you handle it this way, it doesn't feel like selling. It just feels like continuing something that's kind of already been helping them. So now you've got someone ready to sign up. What happens next? Well, if you check out this video here, that's what I cover. And here I'll show you exactly how to teach students using a flexible online coaching format that keeps them engaged and makes the lessons better for both of you.